Hello folks and welcome. Linux Mint 21.2 Mate, or Mate if you prefer. Today I'm going to be talking about web-based icons. All the icons surrounding this welcome box are actually web-based and they're all in different sizes. They are also using different web browsers and also different custom parameters. I'm going to talk about how to do all this stuff from no coding skills whatsoever. Anyone can do this. I'm going to basically walk through this tutorial for anyone that wants to do simple icons all the way to medium to advanced. I'll be using custom parameters for some of them. And one of those icons actually goes to my home router. So basically you can do web-based icons and then you can do internally, just using your home router for the example here. In either case, folks, welcome. I'm going to be filming in 1920 by 1080. All my videos will have timelines and chapters. This will be more than 2 minutes. And with that said, I do encourage that you subscribe. That way you can watch this in multiple sessions. Now, the internet is worldwide, and so is our world as far as usage is concerned. We use web browsers for a lot of things. Web-based icons comes in handy for those kind of purposes. So all of these icons that you see around my welcome screen are from different, well, some of them are from different parts of the world. But in either case, folks, I'm going to show you how to do all this stuff. So they're all also in different sizes, and I'll show you how to do that in the Mate desktop, or Mate if you want to call it that. We can start with Vig Roasters. So double click on these icons. Now that is a Icelandic word, Vig. And this is pretty good coffee too. So that's just a website, as they say, right? So is Amazon. Go shopping. It's just a website. Starbucks. You noticed it opened up in a full screen mode. I can also resize innards. Do different kind of stuff. I'll talk about some of these features as I move forward. Alt and F4, and I'm going to continue. The next one is the Vatican, if you don't recognize that symbol. And you can also resize the information inside of any website. We have websites all over the planet, so I have users all over the planet also that send me well, a lot of kind words once in a while. I like those. Anyways, 40%, 30%, whatever your thing is. Most people are usually above 100%. What am I doing to resize stuff? Holding down the control key while scrolling on my computer mouse scroll wheel. Instead of using the X in the corner, I can also use Alt and F4. Alt and F4 it is. There's the Louvre in France. Waiting for that to open, and more importantly, I can also resize information in here. Alright, Alt and F4 to close, and moving on to the Home Depot. If you don't have a Home Depot in your country, it's like a hardware store. Okay, that one opened up in full screen. So a lot of these are opening with different web browsers with different settings, custom settings. Here's Facebook, pretty simple. And my home router, well, one of my home routers. It's asking me for login information. What's an icon like that good for? Well, first of all, it doesn't go to the internet per se. It goes on your local network. But more importantly, you should always be looking at your, well, updating your firmware at least, or looking at it at least once a month. But you can also log into your routers to, well, change your Wi-Fi name, change the Wi-Fi password, turn on and off the guest network, that kind of stuff. Because most of your home routers nowadays all require you to log in through a web interface, hence the web icon. So I have a big one here and a small one down here on my panel. It does the same thing. So I'll talk about all these neat little tips and tricks as I go. Talk about how to place them on your desktop, also on your panel, and moving them around. And in generally having a little fun at the same time. So what is the tool that does all this? It's already installed in your Mate desktop, or Mate if you prefer. It's called Web Apps. That tool, when you open it, is blank. A lot of people shy away from this box. It's because they have no idea how to use it. So they click the hamburger menu and go, oh, here's some neat little keyboard shortcuts, and they go, well, how do you use this thing? So they click the next statement in line, which is the about. Go to the website. And you'll find an FAQ and a README file, frequently asked questions, and a README file. It really is not a definitive manual of how to use this thing. So that's why I make these kind of videos. By the way, this is 1.3.2. Web Apps has been creating these kind of, or Linux Mint has been creating web apps for quite a while. So a lot of features have been updated over time. But more importantly, I highly encourage that you subscribe, because my videos are usually more than 2 minutes, and a lot of people like to watch videos where they start to watch and stop and come back and watch some more tomorrow, the next day, or whenever. Well, as a subscriber, that's easy to do. So web-based icons. I have several web browsers installed also. I have a Brave, I have a Chromium, and a Firefox. So you'll also see that in here. And some of them actually are using custom parameters. Like that one uses a maximize parameter. And that one there is using that one's also maximized. And that one is maximized. I'm going to try to find one that says full screen on it. There's one that says full screen on it, the actual Starbucks. So there's different parameters that I have in here. And they also go to different websites. You can, when you create these things, you can certainly test them in here also. But let me talk about the whole process. So we have 4 tools. The plus is to create stuff. The minus is to remove stuff. The pencil is to edit stuff. And the weird looking key here is to launch stuff. I don't use that. I double click on these things after I get done with them. And sometimes I don't even test them. I close and go find the icons. Because every one of these icons can be found by just typing. Like AMA for Amazon. It's right here. But when you create these things using default category of web, it creates this web category and then put your icons in here. Now, I just went and threw it into my favorites, because I think once you start using this, you'll probably agree you probably want to use this quite often. I do. On my personal machine, actually. Alright, so none of these go to private things, including my home router, but I'm going to show you how to create that, because that's the only oddball. These all go to websites on the internet. This goes to my home router. But I'm using the same tool. So I got Amazon, Chase Bank. You can think about whatever bank you bank with. I don't bank with them, but I created the icon just for a demo. Facebook, Flight Radar if you're looking for loved ones. I'll show you some tips in there if you like. Gmail, whatever mail. Hardware stores, Linux Mint, home router, Starbucks, the Louvre, the Vatican, V Coffee, WhatsApp, and many, many others. This has been the only odd one that kind of has a weird looking web link to it. I think there's a lot of folks use this to, well, dial loved ones in the world using the internet. Mostly probably on a cell phone or something, smartphone. But in either case, you can make lots of different web icons. Most of the ones you're going to be making are either hand typed in or cut and paste from web browsers. Alright, you saw me open up open up Amazon already. Let me first give you the first tip on resizing the innards. I'm at 170% currently. I can go to 30% minimum and 500% maximum with Firefox. I'm holding down the control key while scrolling on my computer mouse. My mouse has to be, the pointer has to be below this line when I do this. Okay? I can also hold down the control key and hit T for tabs. These are only temporary though. I'm going to middle click and close that. Alright, and I can also double click on this line to resize, or you can do it the old fashioned way. This is a Firefox web browser. Alright, this is a Chromium web browser using Chase Bank with a full screen. If I wanted to, I'm sorry, this is maximized. So yeah, let me change that parameter to, so for you folks that want to see what this is typed and you can't read it on the screen, it's dash dash start, all lowercase, dash maximized. I'm going to change that last one to full screen. So here's another command. It's got the F11. You don't see a panel, you don't see anything. You don't even see the X in the corner. However, I can hold down the control key and scroll backwards, and it goes to 25% minimum. Unlike Firefox, it's 30% minimum, and this still goes to 500. And most people are usually north of 100%. So 110 it is. I don't bank here, but it looks like they do checking, savings, and credit cards. So again, you can use these things. Alt and F4 is to close that. I'm just using that command instead of the X in the corner. That's another command. You can close any window, including this one. All right, and this is using, I guess I have Facebook here. This one's using Firefox. Standard behavior. There's no extra parameters, nothing. So let's go and make one of these. How about Amazon first? Now, anytime you got these icons already made and you've already put login information on them, if you edit them using the pencil, just be prepared to put in your login information again, because there is a little bit of security built into these. At the same time, if you decide to delete these, whichever icons you have on your desktop or panel, also remove them. It doesn't auto remove these icons. Okay, you see no Amazon in here, but yet you see this in here. What's going to happen when I click this? You're going to have a profile missing, because I used Firefox and there's no more profile for it to do anything. It doesn't understand why I'm clicking here, because it's not tied to an icon. So I need to remove that. Same thing goes with this one. That's a double click. It's missing profile. All right, so I need to get rid of those. So let's create some. Let's have some fun. Hit the plus key. Again, no coding skills required. We're going to do one for Amazon real quick. A. That's as far as I need to go. I can continue now. But I think I want to give it a little bit better name than A. If you start a bunch of icons with A on them, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to discern which one goes where. But you can certainly do that. Do you have to spell it correctly in the name? No, you do not. You can spell it however you want. You can even put shopping if you like. If you want to do it this way, I'm going to delete all that. You want to do it this way? The web address is the most important. You can copy them from web browsers, open up the web page, do a cut and paste in here, or you can hand type it yourself. If you're going to hand type things, most things begin with www.amazon.com. Before you get all excited and say, oh, the app finds icons, only for a very few websites. You're going to be doing a lot of these clicking right here, find icons online, and sometimes 2 or 3 times. And sometimes you'll be clicking this and assigning your own icons from the system, including silly stuff. Or you can also assign your own icons through Browse. I'll show that in a little bit. But in either case, I am going to click that and then click this back and then just type in either Amazon, or I can just start this all over again. All right, I'll pick this one. Firefox web browser. Well, do you have other browsers installed? If you decide to use Brave or Chromium, you may want to think about custom parameters. However, with Firefox, it normally doesn't require them, and I'm not going to use them in general in this video. However, I am fond of the navigation bar. Navigation bar in Firefox is this bar right up here. All right, the private incognito window I don't use on any of them. Internet Service Provider, ISP, you know, the guy that you pay to get online with, most of them know where you're surfing if you're using their domain name system, their DNS. If you're using some other DNS, maybe not so much, but I don't normally use that in either case. And I'm going to move on. I'm going to hit OK. It took me longer to explain how to do this icon. Now, why did it move that all the way down here? Because I didn't call it Amazon. This is alphabetical. So now it's called shopping. I'm not even going to test it. I'm just going to walk over to my Mate menu or Mate menu and type AMA. And it found shopping. Or I could do it this way. S-H-O-P for shopping. Now, there's a couple of things to be aware of. Let me try this one more time because I'm flipping around. I can grab a hold of the icon. I can right-click on the icon. All right, so on a Cinnamon desktop for Mint, you normally have to right-click and add to desktop. However, you can also on a Cinnamon desktop drag and drop these right in between here. Not so much on a Mate desktop. You can drop this over here though. Or you can, on a Mate desktop, you can do it this way. And I'll move that to the center, and I also can drop it this way. Okay, these are single click icons. That's a double click. So when I create the first one, you get the first privacy notice. You get rid of it. You can resize the innards. I'll leave it at 30% and open up this one. It's still 30%. It's asking me, do I want to open the previous tab? And I said no. However, I'm going to resize this back into something more reasonable, maybe 110%. Now, if I have an account with Amazon, I let Firefox take care of the login information as far as remembering that. Because once you log in or sign in, it will remember that, providing you don't edit this icon. So if I opened up Web Apps one more time and I decided to edit this icon, either through a name change or some other piece of information, there's a high probability, most likely I will have to log in again. Just remember that when you edit things. Okay. I can also resize these icons. You can see how big these are. They're all different sizes in here. So how do you resize this in Mate? You right click, you resize the icon this way. Okay, so that's the biggest. And that's the smallest. That one's actually too dinky. The official term for small. A little bit of humor there, folks. Anyways, I'll throw that up there and leave it. I already have one of those down here. Just keep in mind, if you edit these, now these say shopping on them. So if I go in here to Web Apps and I decided, oh, I'm going to fix this by changing the name. Okay. You're going to have to wait for a reboot. Or the best way of doing this is just to delete the icon itself, here and here. I do encourage that you do it this way. It's faster. Then you can go back, I'm sorry, wrong area. I meant to go here. Then you can just drag this icon here. Now it says Amazon on it. I'll pull it in the center and I'll resize the icon. Do you still want it on your panel? Drop it down there. And that says Amazon Web App icon in yellow. Still goes to the same place. All right. With that said, let's move on. Opening up the tool one more time. So I can use Firefox. I can also use Chromium. And if you decide to use Chromium, or as in this case, I have also Brave, this is set for full screen when I open this. Okay, F11. F11 to get out of it and close. If I do it with the standard setting, let me just copy the address and be done with it. Just pretend I opened up a web browser and copied the address, because I'm going to delete this on purpose. So I'm going to delete Chase Bank and recreate it by pasting that back in there and look for icons online. And we can pick Jumbo or Dinky, official names. Jumbo, Jinky. Anyways, a little more humor there, folks. What are we going to call that? Well, how about just Chase? It's easy enough. Chase Bank. I don't know what they're called. I don't bank there, but Chase Credit Card, Chase Visa. Maybe they offer Visa. I don't know. Maybe MasterCard. Name it whatever you want. But category Web, Firefox. I'm going to pick Brave this time, with no custom parameter, isolated profile. And I'll let you see what that looks like. I get a half of screen. This is standard behavior. I can go full, can resize it by double clicking on this line or clicking that. I can also resize the innards. This goes to 25% in Brave to 500%. That's the sizing difference. Again, your choice. And every time I do this, it does that whether I have the icon here or in the menu. Keep in mind, I'm still doing this over here. Okay. And I can put one on here too if I like. It's still half a screen. But I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to open up Web Apps again. And I'm going to alter this with a custom parameter of -- start, maximized, and hit OK. And close. Still a half a screen. Why is that? Because it's holding old information. What's the best way of doing this? Delete the icon and remove it off the panel because it's holding old information. Open up Web Apps again. No, I'm sorry, not open up Web Apps. Go to the menu or just type it in because you've already altered it, and put the icon back on here. And the same thing goes with the panel. So now it goes full screen, and this will go full screen. Resizing that to 25%, close. And this opens in 25% also. I'll scroll up a little bit. Now you can see where it's changing. 140% is more reasonable. It does have a close button in the corner. You can also resize the icon itself. I'm freaking the computer out because I'm doing too many things at once, but just trying to compress time. And you can resize the icon to your heart's content. Well, to a certain size, but this is maximum right here. I don't think that's plenty big for most people. And the smallest is Dinky. Official name size of Jumbo and Dinky. A little bit more humor there, folks. All right, so that's Chase. Again, I can move that around too. Throw that over there. Throw the Amazon icon over here or here. Same thing with Veek Roasters. If I decided to resize the icon because I'm getting too cluttered, I can resize that, and the same thing with the Louvre. Okay. There we go. If you're trying to squeeze a whole bunch of these. All right, next one in line is, I'm going to skip around here a little bit. Flight radar is also set for maximized. So what is flight radar? It's basically airplanes in the air. That's live data. There's a lot of data points here that are coming off the internet immediately. Every one of these airplanes is moving. So that's my home country right there, Reykjavik. That's where I was born. This one's going to Hamburg. You can see it left Keflavik Airport, and it's traveling. You know, what are these apps good for? Well, I currently live over here in the United States. In the United States, we're not allowed to wait for our loved ones at the airport. So you can search for their flight numbers, and you can also track their airplanes in the sky. You can also have fun with this thing, and you can also get this as a mobile app on your mobile devices, Android and iPhone. You can also have fun by clicking on airplanes. That one is coming from San Jose going to Vancouver, and you can actually, oh, I'm sorry, not San Jose, United States, but it looks like it's coming from Mexico, all the way down here. You can see the flight path, and you can tell where the airplane is currently at. So what would this be good for? Well, you know, since we're not allowed to wait in the airport for your loved ones or passengers, it's a good idea to find out where their plane is at before you leave the house or apartment. You can do that with their flight information. I'm just having fun by clicking. See where these planes are coming from. That one's coming from Manila. I'll zoom back out. How am I zooming out? Holding down the control key while scrolling. You can see it left the Philippines, went across the ocean. That's flight radar. However, the way I opened it was in Chromium with a custom parameter, maximized. So again, it's maximized. You want this full screen? All I need to do is change the back end. Now this will open in full screen. It'll have the F11, in other words. I don't have a panel bar. I don't have a bottom. It's taking up all my viewable space. However, I can still resize the innards. Different ways of doing things. You have a plus or minus key in here too. I can also use the F11 to get out of that mode, to hit the standard mode. What is the standard mode for this? Well, it's this. I'm going to cut this out of here for a second. So if you created the icon this way, this is how it opens every time. You can certainly maximize it using my method or this method. But this will be using Chromium. And a lot of you folks will probably do this and try to figure out how you can open this up in full screen for the first time instead of having to hit that thing all the time. Well, you can do that with a custom parameter like this one. You can do full screen or maximized. Dash dash start, lowercase dash, maximized or full screen. Those are two parameters that I would recommend. Alright, we can do Gmail, Home Depot, Linux Mint, your router, Starbucks, the Louvre, the Vatican, V Coffee, WhatsApp. Alright, I'm going to do this one here. I'm going to recreate the router. So I delete that. And what happens with this icon? It no longer works because I deleted the profile just now. So I'm going to delete that. And I want you to see this icon. This icon I downloaded off the internet. So I'm going to be showing this next example using custom icons. I'm also going to get rid of that one because that one no longer works either because I deleted the profile in here. So how do I find out what my home router's address is? You already on the internet? You're surfing the internet? Alright, you more than likely already have that information right here at your fingertips. So I'm using Wi-Fi today. Right-click, connection information. So IP version 4, Internet Protocol version 4, Internet Protocol version 6, not that that matters much, gives you an IP address. Your router issues you an Internet Protocol address so you can get out on the internet and play. Well, in my case, it's 192.168.1.195. I have multiple routers, but more importantly, that last number is the number of my computer. Where it came from is this place right here. 192.168.1.1, my home router. My home router is what dished out this 195 number to this machine. So that's also my default route to get out to the internet. And it's also using the domain name system, or DNS, to get out also. But in either case, this is the address that I'm looking for. And in 99% of all of your home routers, this will be your default route. Right click and copy that. Open up Web Apps, hit the plus key, click the address field, right click and paste that. Don't worry about the HTTP. Web Apps takes care of that. Alright, the next thing is give it a name. I'm just going to use my router. You can call it my stuff, you can call it whatever you want. Don't even bother clicking that find icons online. It's not going to find anything. So this address here is unlike these guys. These go to a website on the internet. This is going only to my home router address. My home router has a web interface though. All your routers that you buy today are web interfaced routers, and you log into them to, well, create your wireless name, your network name, possibly your passwords too. Right? Okay. So we have an address to our routers, in other words. All right, with that said, you can click this and assign any of the system icons. These are just icons. But in my case, I have a folder in mind that's sitting in here. This folder here contains a ton of icons that I brought in myself. Some of these weird icons I created, some of them I've edited, and some of them I just straight downloaded. So I downloaded a couple of different ones. So I downloaded one of the router icons for TP-Link here. That's the current router that I'm playing with. and I have a couple of different versions of it, but I'm going to be using one of these icons out of my home folder. So I'm going to go back and click on this, hit browse, go find that folder. Anytime you use one or more icons out of a folder like this, do not move the folder, leave it in its place, and don't rename the folder itself. If you use one or more icons from any folder like this, if you're going to use it long term. If you're just using stuff for short term, then do your own thing. But more importantly, I leave this normally alone if I'm using other icons out of this folder. And this icon came from here also. So anyways, I am going to find that router icon. It's under TP. So I think it's this one, because it has a see-through background. In other words, it doesn't have a background, even though it looks white in here. The next question is web category. I leave it alone. Browser, what do I want to use? I'm just going to leave it with Firefox with a navigation bar. Double click to test. Got the privacy notice. More importantly, it's trying to log into my router, and it's got a successful page that it says, give me your password. That's what you want to see. Most of your home routers do not have security certificates, so it doesn't have HTTPS. It has HTTP. Hence, there will be a no sign across there because it's waiting for you to respond. And if you're going to tell me your home router doesn't have any passwords on it, then that's poor security, and you should fix that. All right, now that I've created this, though, I am going to distribute those icons. So what did I call that? It was called My Router. So I just typed in My. Drag it over to the desktop, and it puts it in the corner up here. That's okay, I'll bring it to the center. And I can also drop it downstairs. Single click, get rid of the show me. It's pretty standard. And again, what good are these icons? You log into your home router to change maybe the Wi-Fi password or even the Wi-Fi name. Turn on and off the guest network. Check your firmware that you probably should be checking at least once a month. That kind of thing. Most people forget about. Right click, resize icon. Right click, resize icon. Kind of tough to grab a hold of those corners when they're this small. As you can see, my icon is see-through. You can see the water line right through it. So I used GIMP to do this kind of work. GIMP is like Photoshop. You can also try to find icons with no backgrounds. There's all kinds of things you can do. Either way, now you know how to do one for your home router. All right, let's go back to here. So I'm going to do this for Home Depot. I'm actually going to eliminate this and eliminate that. And there's one more here. Sorry, I didn't mean to click on it. I meant to right click and remove it. And what we're going to do is open up any web browser and go look for Home Depot using a search. Again, this could be any web page. I'm going to use the official Home Depot web page, and I'll say sure. And I'm going to highlight the address in the address bar and right click and copy that, and then minimize the browser and open up my web apps and hit the plus key. Right click in here and right click and paste the address. Now I'm going to open up the web page and close since I successfully pasted that. Now the Home Depot icon in this case, it doesn't find it. It doesn't matter how many times I click this. I've done this so many times that it will never find that icon. However, I could assign it something silly. It's still Home Depot no matter what. We'll just call that HD for now. Okay? I'll just use Firefox to be short. This still goes to Home Depot no matter what. I'll say allow. Alright, but I want to assign this to a proper icon before I dump it on my desktop or panel. So I'll hit the pencil and I'll click that and hit browse. Documents, icons folder. I'm going to just type in H and I want that icon there because I already basically downloaded it earlier from the internet. So that's also what you can do if you want the official icons, is download them off wherever site that you get it from, or even do a search for it, download the icons, throw it in a folder, and then manually assign it like I'm doing here. Okay, so this I'm using the edit right now to do this with. It's called HD. HD for Home Depot, so I would do HD and drag and drop. You can also do right click, add to desktop panel, and show in favorites. Alright, multiple ways of doing things. Single click here, get rid of the show me, hit allow or not allow, your choice, and that's a double click. One more time with the tips on the resizing and tabs is holding down your control key. Your mouse has to be inside of this line right here in this square while you're doing this. I'm scrolling forward, scrolling backwards, scrolling forward. I'm still holding the control key. Once I get it to whatever percent I want, like 130, I let go of the control key and I can scroll in 130%. It doesn't matter if I have the icon here or here. They're linked. 130%, 130%. Resizing this icon one more time. That's the maximum size. Temporarily putting, if you're using Firefox with tabs, you can temporarily put Control T. Control T, I'll throw in 2 tabs up here. I'll put in Amazon on one of them, and this tab I'll put in Wikipedia, and then I can switch between the two. This is a temporary thing. As soon as you close this icon, these tabs will go away. You can also force shut these things down with a middle click, or you can use the conventional X. Okay, there's lots of different ways of doing things in here, folks. I think I'm almost toward the end here. I'm just going to double check. So resize. So again, Amazon, Chase Bank, whatever bank, Facebook, Flight Radar, Gmail, whatever mail, hardware stores, your router, coffee places like Starbucks or Vic Roasters for coffee, Louvre, the Vatican, that's just how they spell it, and anything else you can think of to create web-based icons, and you can resize them on your Mate desktop pretty easily, or Mate if you prefer, and throw them on your panel at the same time. I will say thank you for watching, folks. Take care.